also sprinkle a little bit at the top. They're coming up to the top, really pecking at that food. The two parents right here taking care of all these little babies running around. If you're new to the channel, thanks for watching Pond Saga 5. So right now, I'm feeding my baby Electric Blue Acara's first bites. You can do two methods of it. You can just basically sit some at the top of the water column and let it sink down like this, and it goes down pretty slow for them to get it. When they're this large, they already been fed and they know how to get the food, but when they're babies, I use a different method. I put it in like a small syringe. I wet the food first, and then I shoot it in here to cause a feeding frenzy with the smaller ones, so they can see the particles start moving around. And then I'll also sprinkle a little bit at the top, just so they can get an idea of like, hey, this is where the food comes from. But I have a good decent amount. I sprayed some in here as well, and you'll see some on the ground right now trying to eat it up right here. But I also just left some at the top, and I think I'm just gonna start doing this method because it falls slower, and now they're accustomed to actually eating it. I just did a small water change, but not with fresh water. I used some water from out of the parents' tank. I do a water change on the parents' tank every few days, and I add water just to make sure it's fresh. So when it goes through that cycle, I basically just put it into here, because I know that the parameters are correct on the parents' tank, and is much larger than this 10-gallon right here. But they're doing good. By the next month, they should double in size. But once you put them in a larger tank like this, the maintenance actually becomes a lot easier. So these are 3 weeks old. These little guys right here, behind them in the Tupperware, are a little bit over a week old. So they have to put on some more size before I introduce them to the tank with the big boys, because I don't want them to have to compete for food, and I don't want the larger ones starting to try to pick them off. So they're gonna be eating about 5 times a day. I'm gonna be feeding them just so they can catch up to speed. Well, these guys in here, I'm gonna be feeding them about 3 times a day. But so far so good. I have some Hornworth in here to kind of help pull out a lot of the nitrates, and then some of the baby fish like to hide in here as well to feel safe. And some of the food also, particles fall onto the plants and the fish go through to get them. I also have some moss balls in here. Same thing, they're gonna help to filter the water, and some of the food falls onto these moss balls, and it gives the fish a snack in between cleanings. And I also have a couple of snails in here as well. Seem to be sleeping right now. I was debating if I wanted to put like a corridor or something in here to help up with cleanup duty. I thought about putting a pleco in here, but I feel like the pleco, they do a good job at cleaning and getting stuff out the bottom, but they also poop a lot, and I don't really want all that poop in the water like there. I find it easier for me to just, when I want to clean up the bottom, just to use a simple turkey baser, and it gets the job done, rather than trying to, suck up all the poop particles. I'd rather just clean up the little food particles. If I don't get them all, it's okay, because they're in a much larger tank. It's not gonna hurt the water parameters too much. But this is my basic setup for a 10-gallon grout tank. It's gonna be a sponge filter, a thermometer. I mean, not a thermometer, a heater, but also a thermometer so I can tell, the temperatures. There's gonna be a couple aquatic plants, and yeah, good to go. But these guys really needed the space, because they're growing pretty fast. They're growing at a rapid pace. And I felt like when I had them in the Tupperware for too long, they weren't getting enough space and they were starting to die off one by one. And also when you have them in little containers like that, it tends to cripple their growth. So from this stage right here of the 10-gallon grow out tank, probably there's so many of them, probably within the next, I would say, month, I'm gonna be moving these guys to probably maybe my 75-gallon grow out tank, possibly. That's probably what I'm gonna end up doing. And I'll probably move the parents to the 55, just in case if they want to breed again. I will be growing these guys out to sell, and I'll probably keep a handful for myself. But most of these guys right here are gonna get sold off. Here we go, feeding these baby Electric Blue Acara. They're getting big, feeding them some first bites. They're coming up to the top, really pecking at that food. Everybody seems to be eating. I do this about 3 to 5 times a day. Then we have the little brothers and sisters to the side. These guys are going on 2 weeks. Well, I believe they're 2 weeks now, maybe. I gotta check my calendar, but I think they're 2 weeks. Maybe going on 3 weeks next Thursday. Looking forward to these guys to get bigger so I can introduce them to these guys right here. Hopefully they will play nice, because I have another batch that the parents just laid and just hatched. But yeah, no casualties today. No casualties yesterday. I also do a water change on this tank about once a day. I got away with it and did it once every 2 days by minimizing the food that I was feeding them, like I'm doing now, just enough so they could eat. A few times I make sure that they eat all the food and none goes to waste. They seem to be doing a good job at that. So hopefully be less maintenance from me, but everybody's doing really good. They made it past the 1 month threshold. So hopefully I won't have any more casualties on the way from these guys. And hopefully not too many more casualties from their little brothers and sisters right here. These guys right here are growing really, really fast. I have some food in here right now, and I have some Hornworth in here. They're coming up, grabbing food, and they definitely put on some size. I noticed a big growth spurt when they got inside of this tank. I noticed a growth spurt. They were, you didn't really see any definition, but now you see the tails. They look kind of similar to these ones in here. They look very similar to these, how they're just, you don't really see any tails, any fins. It just looks like a little, their tails like little sticks or little pencils. But then by the second week, them being in this new enclosure, they're, I want to say they're looking more like fish, and they've been tolerating the water changes. I have maybe 1 or 2 die off since they've been in this enclosure, but I'm hoping that I will soon figure out the water parameters and that won't happen. So what I've been doing is when I do my water changes, I've been actually using the water from the parents' tank. I've been doing consistent water changes on the parents' tank, and then using that water to put inside of here so I can get more beneficial bacteria on the actual sponge filter right there. I'm not sure how many there are right now, but most of them survived since they hatched, but these right here, unfortunately, I feel like I lost about 100 of these between yesterday and the day before. It was a lot of them. If not, maybe I'm exaggeration. Maybe not a 100 of these died, but a good amount definitely over 50. There was about 300 at one point in this container, but now that number has definitely dwindled, and you can probably see one laying flat right there, which I'm gonna have to suck him out. He's not moving at all, that one right there. So I'm gonna have to definitely take him out before he fouls the water, and I'm gonna have to look for any more casualties. But I've been putting food in here, trying to feed them as best as I can. And you know, I did a water change in here, trying to see if that would bring them back to life. But only time will tell. Only time will tell. So they're eating first bites right now. You can kind of see them as the food is falling. They're looking and inspecting to see which pieces that they want to bite. Pretty dope. But they're getting bigger. So here are the two parents right here taking care of all these little babies running around. I'm gonna have to clean up a lot of this debris that's over there. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to suck out all these babies so I can feed them adequately. But now they're free swimming, so that might not be as simple as I thought it would be. I should have got them when they were wiggling, but nevertheless, I'm gonna have to try to do as best as I can. But it's fascinating to watch how they protect them and stuff. But I'm gonna have to suck these babies out, and then probably move the parents to the pond, or I'm gonna move them to the 55 gallon. So if they want to produce again, they will have the chance with no interruption, because soon I am going to have to put the other Electric Blue Acara babies in here because they're starting to grow. Also, the fun doesn't stop here. Make sure you check out one of these videos on the end screen.